So, just starting off, can you talk a little bit about where your family is originally from?
So, my family's from Armenia, this state Ijevan, and then we lived there, or I lived there personally until 2016, and then we moved to America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about any grandparents you know who also lived in
Yeah.
Armenia?
So, both my grandparents are actually still over there,
Hmm.
so we still go and visit sometimes, but I would say for them it's more harder to live here just because they've lived almost 90% of their life in Armenia, so they can't really adjust to it. But yeah, they're still living in over there. So yeah,
Do they live in Ijevan as
yeah,
well?
yeah.
And your
They,
family's always lived there?
yeah, we've always lived there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard stories about from your grandparents about what their life was like in Ijevan?
Uh, I've heard stories from my dad's best friend. Um, their family came from the Armenian genocide. They moved to Yerevan, so I've heard a lot of stories from them and how they settled in. And then, as far as my grandparents go, I don't really talk to them as much, but
Mm,
I know they've been living there since their early childhood.
mm. And do you know how they were affected by conflict or by the genocide?
Well, my grandpa, um, not he wasn't affected as much, both my grandpas, but I do know a lot of people that were.
Hmm.
For example, my brother-in-law, he served. He was affected by that. His or my sister's and brother-in-law's godfather was affected by that. So
Mm,
I think everybody's affected by it as far as emotional goes, but some are also affected by physical traits as well.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Can you tell me what your family did in Armenia before you came here?
Well, before we came here, my parents ran a bakery in our
Mm,
garage, so we owned the business for about 20 years, give or take. So yeah, we worked there for a while, and then my dad used to drive a car like taxi, Uber, stuff
mm.
like that. And then yeah, that's about it.
Do you know what your grandparents did?
My grandpa was really good at chess, so
Wow, that's
he
cool.
played a lot of chess. He was actually, I forget what the grandmaster's name was. It was 20 versus that one grandmaster. My grandpa was the only one that tied him. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
impressive. And your grandma, do you know?
My grandma, she worked in a mental hospital for a
Mhm.
while, and then she actually transitioned into the bakery as well.
On
So,
what side of your family?
my dad's mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories or memories of your mom's parents?
My mom's parents? Yeah. Um, I'm every time, like for example, my other grandma actually used to work in the mental hospital as well.
Mm,
So every time after that, she would come pick me up from school, would go to their house. She always have that good food ready.
wow.
Grandma's always cooked the
Uh-huh.
best. So yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Can you describe a bit about what your early life in Armenia was like?
Yeah. So I moved here when I was 8, so I don't remember too much, but all I remember is me and my best friend just annoying everybody because that's what little kids do. And then yeah, we just mess around all day. I would get sometimes yelled at by my parents, so
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, played a lot of chess with my grandpa, and that's basically it.
Mm. What was the neighborhood like that you grew up in?
Uh, it was very active as far as like the relationship goes, and I don't know if you noticed, but in America it's more like after 10 p.m. everybody's just asleep, everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. In Armenia, or as far as my neighborhood went, we'd always stay out. We'd go for like walks. We'd play like dodgeball,
Mm-hmm.
everything like that. It was a very active neighborhood to live
Mm.
in.
And were there a lot of Armenian community organizations or institutions?
Yeah. Now that I'm getting older, I can see a lot more. But over there, I didn't really have a cell phone or anything like that, so I didn't really notice it.
Mm.
But as far as community goes, I've seen like our schools used to have like certain events like dance programs or community stuff like that, community service. So I've seen those, but I've started to see more as far as I've gotten older.
Mm. And do you have any favorite memories with your relatives who live in Armenia?
Uh, Probably. My favorite one was whenever the first grandchild was born, so my first niece. I think that was the best memory because everybody was happy, and then that's when I actually went back the first time, and that's when I saw her. So I think it was a very beautiful moment of everybody being connected again, because that was the first time my family actually went back to visit.
Mm.
So that was around 2019. So that was about 3, 4 years after we
Mm-hmm.
came. So it was a really beautiful moment that I remember.
And before you moved, when you were still living in Armenia, was how important was family to you? Did you spend a lot of time with
Yeah,
your family?
yeah. I actually used to have like a full-on schedule set up. I would stay at my parents' house 5 days of the week, and then on Fridays I would go over to my grandma's from my
Mm.
mom's side, and then my dad's parents actually lived with us, so I used to always see them. But yeah, I used to have like a schedule set up to see my relatives because it's a really important thing to have connections with your
Mhm.
relatives. Yeah.
Mhm. Do you have any favorite stories they told you or memories of those times?
Mm, Not really, because again, I was super young. But
Yeah.
like, it's just some stuff that I said when I was young. I don't remember all of them, but well, when I was super young, I used to get like the chess pieces, and I have an older sister. We always like fight, but like it's a relative fight. So I was super young. I used to get like the chess piece, and I just chuck it at her. So she would get hit a lot. That's about all I remember because that's all they talk about.
Uh-huh.
Because that's probably one of the dumbest things I've done when I was young. So yeah.
What was school like in Armenia?
School, different,
Mhm.
different. Over there, compared to here, you start learning different languages a lot sooner. So, for example, you start learning Russian in the second grade. To here, you start learning a foreign language like ninth to 10th grade
Mm.
average. Over there, I would say, as far as the education part of it goes, it might be a little more advanced than here as far as math goes. I'm not sure about anything else. Um, but it's also a lot of like fights, stuff like that. So yeah,
Mm.
it's definitely a lot more different.
Can
Yeah.
you share more about the culture you're describing?
As far as like the school
Yeah, what was that
environment,
environment like?
yeah. It was kind of all of us had to be careful of what we said or what we've done because it's a small city. Everybody knows each other, right? For example, my teacher, she lives in the same neighborhood as I live in.
Mm.
So anytime I did anything bad, my parents would know, and they would go talk to her, and then they'd come talk to me. It was too
Mhm.
much. So I think as far as the environment goes, we were a lot more careful of what we said around adults or anything like that. But yeah, I think that's about it. It's just a lot more like compressed into like small details of what we said and what we didn't say.
Mhm. And did you ever go to church in Armenia?
Yeah, we have a lot of churches over there. So anytime something, for example, like let's say something, my grandma gets sick in a bad way, when she heals, we have a ceremony where we take like a chicken or something like that, or like a lamb. We go to a church and then we like give it as thank you,
Mm.
right, for healing them or anything like that. So we would basically humanely kill them, and then
Mm.
we'll do laps around the church 7 times. So yeah, we used to go a lot to church, and of course, we used to go during Easter.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of the church you went to?
Ooh,
Remember?
there's a
Or you
lot.
went to multiple?
Yeah, I went to
Mm.
a lot. So one of the, I can say like, um, the churches, they're more orthodox
Mm.
kind of setup. As far as the names go, I don't really remember all of them, but for example, like I know there's a lot of churches like Ishmael Church, which is pretty famous. That's the main one I know because that's when I went to that one, I was a lot older,
Mm.
so I remember that a lot more. So yeah.
How old were you when you went to that
I was 12.
church? Okay. Great. And would you say that those churches were a big source of community for you growing up?
Yeah, yeah. I met a lot of people that I still talk to this day when I went there.
Mm.
So it was a very beautiful moment. I feel like churches especially over there, connect a lot of people together.
Yeah.
As far as beliefs go, as far as relationship with God goes. Yeah.
Were you part of any youth group, or were there any relevant church events you remember?
I wasn't a part of many. One church moment I remember it wasn't my moment, it was my sister's. I think I saw a picture when I got a little older. It was she graduated, and when we graduated over there from high school, so it's like 12th grade, we always go to church, and we put candles, and I saw a picture, and that's kind of what I resemble it from.
Wow. And I'm curious what languages you spoke at home.
Mainly is Armenian, but here and there, Armenians we use a lot of Russian words. So it's mainly Armenian. We use a lot of Armenian, and whenever my parents want to talk in secret, when I'm around, they speak Russian. Because I didn't really learn Russian. I started learning and then we moved here, so I didn't fully pick up. So when they try hiding stuff, they speak Russian.
Can you talk about your family dynamic and the names of your parents and siblings?
Yeah. So the middle one, Ani, she's my older sister, of course. The other one, her name is Marietta. She was named after my dad's sister. And funny thing about my name is I'm named after both my grandpas. So both my grandpas' names were Hrant, so that's where they kind of got it. But as far as Armenian names go, it's kind of like, I think it's a way to show respect in my opinion. So like, for example, my dad named me after his dad. So in the future, if I have a son, I'm gonna name my son after my dad, which is Martik. So I'll name him that, and then I think it's a cool name, Marti, because it directly translates to soldier. So I think that's a pretty cool name.
That is cool. Were you close with your sisters growing up?
Yeah. We used to fight a lot, argue a lot, love a lot. Yeah. As far as like closeness goes, they're definitely closer because they're both like 8, 9 years older than me. So how sisters are, they're gonna be a little bossy. So they got together, them two, and then my mom, and they just put me to work. So yeah, but it's all love. So.
And you mentioned you left for America. Your family left for America in 2016.
Yeah.
Could you tell me more about that? Why you guys left?
Yeah. So my dad's sister was actually here. She came here, I think, 25 to 26 years ago. So she was here, and then she was just saying, like, try getting a green card, try getting this. So my mom said, might as well just try it. We tried it, and then we got it. So we moved here. We lived in LA for a little bit, and then we just came straight to Fresno. But it was more like if we get it, we get it. If we don't, no big deal type thing.
Wow. So the main motivation for coming to America was family, or
Yeah. So my aunt used to come and visit once in a while, but not always. So I think we just wanted to fully connect with each other. So yeah, I think that's the main reason.
And you mentioned that you initially came to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories from living there?
Yeah, actually, the first day I came in, I was a little plain sick. So I was just walking around outside. I think it was around 8:30ish. It's towards nighttime. I was just walking around. My head was spinning. There was a bunch of other kids, my cousins, just running around. I didn't know what was going on. So
wow.
Yeah, that's the first memory I had. And then LA, it's a lot of Armenians. So I didn't really speak English that well over there. Yeah.
How long were you in LA?
For 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we moved here. So, yeah, give or take, I was about 4th grade whenever I moved here.
Yeah. Could you describe any of I know you said you were there for 8 months, but any of the similarities and differences between the Armenian community you saw there and the one back home?
Some similarities are, again, relationships. They keep a lot of relationships tied together, right? And then also just them speaking Armenian is even a similarity, because I thought if I came here, they might speak English. I mean, they do, of course, but mainly in the household it's Armenian. That was also similar. Yeah.
What would you say were any of the challenges your family faced with immigrating to the U.S.?
Well, even to this day, me and my two sisters are the only one that fully understand English.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents still struggle with that, and they also still struggle with the mindset
Mm.
because they've lived there for about most of their lives. They moved here about almost 10 years ago. So it's just I think the mindset part is a lot more different, and what their beliefs are compared to here. So I think that's the main one. I've adjusted pretty well because I was super young when I came, so it's pretty easy for me. And then kind of a little this that for my sisters, and it's pretty hard for my parents.
Mm. Can you tell me more about what you mean about their mindset?
So, it's just their overall beliefs on certain points in society, and
Mm.
I think that's the main ones. And then as far as the religious, of course, goes, the religious beliefs, their beliefs as far as family values go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's kind of different from here to there.
Great. And so you moved to Fresno. Was that in 2016 or 2017?
I think it was towards the end of 2016.
Okay. And can you describe a little bit about what your life was like coming to Fresno?
Um, it was different because I just moved and then I go into a school and then or here I go to another school. So there's a lot of changing stuff up. So I
Mm-hmm.
was still kind of adjusting, if that makes sense. But when I came here, it was a lot easier because there weren't many Armenians here compared to LA.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up the language a lot more because I was kind of like forced to. So I think moving to Fresno was a better decision for me and my sisters.
Mm. How old were you when you came to Fresno?
I was 9 or 10. I
Okay.
think I was 9.
What was school like for you here?
At the start it was a little different because I didn't even know what a paragraph was. So it was a little different because I knew the material. I just didn't know the words to use to
Mm.
solve it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew how to solve it. I just didn't know what work to show because, of course, I just got here. But yeah, it was pretty difficult at first, but then I just started adjusting to it as far as my years went. So yeah.
Yeah. And you started off in an all English school?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Wow.
So I moved here. I started over at Mountain View. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went there for my full elementary school year, and then just went to Granite Ridge and then Clovis North.
Mm.
Yeah.
In your younger years, do you remember any activities you participated in?
Well, I before I came to America, I did sambo, which is kind of like throwing people. If that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And then when I moved here, there wasn't that kind of sport in
Uh-huh.
America, so it was more like a Russian sport. So when I moved here, I started judo when I was 8. So
Mm.
I still do it to this day. So yeah.
Wow. Were there any other ways you spent your time growing up?
I spend my time a lot with friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I would use. We actually used to live at this apartment over here before we moved, but the apartment had a pool, so I would just get my friends, would jump in the pool, have fun, eat some pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always fun as well. Yeah.
You mentioned there were a lot less Armenians in Fresno than what you experienced in Los Angeles. I was wondering what the community was like here, or if you were able to still engage with Armenian community
Over here,
events.
compared to LA, I would say over here it's a lot more spread out.
Mm.
So the community is a lot more like spread out throughout the city itself, compared to LA, where it's like this house might be Armenian, the next house will probably be Armenian too. Over here, it's a lot more spread out, but as far as the community goes, it's a lot similar.
Mm.
So we still have the same communities over here as they do over there, of course, with less population. But yeah.
Did your family practice religion in a similar way in the US?
Yeah, I mean, as far as practicing religion goes, for me personally, I would say I have a relationship with God. It's not really a religion.
Mm.
So I think that's as far as my family goes. We have our own beliefs towards one God.
Okay.
So we express ourselves to Him in our own ways.
Mm. And less engaged with the church per se.
Yeah, we only go to churches for us here, especially. We only go to churches for like special occasions like Easter,
Okay.
or God forbid some of our family passes away, we go to church. So
Mm.
as far as those go, but our main communication towards God, we use it in our way. We communicate with Him.
Were there any special holidays or traditions that you kept up growing up?
Yeah, in Armenia we have a tradition. It's called Vartevar. It's just a day where everybody takes off work and then we just get water from somewhere throughout the streets because we have a lot of fountains over there. So we just get buckets, we fill with water, and we just splash everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're a tourist, if you're out, you're gonna get splashed. So
That's super fun.
yeah.
Were there any other family traditions you had?
Well, my dad loves to barbecue,
Okay.
so I think it's in everybody's like family tradition to barbecue, especially in Armenia. But ours is a little bit different because my dad doesn't let anybody come close to the cooking process. He likes being in charge, so I think that's different compared to others, where others they might switch off, take breaks. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned that you did go and visit Armenia after coming to the U.S. Can you talk more about that trip or any other times you've been back?
Yeah, so when I went there, my first time, it was 2019, right before COVID hit. So it was still a lot of stuff were open. When we went back, we had a lot more availability. There you go. So we traveled a lot more. So I went to Karabakh for vacation, about 2-3 days. So that was very beautiful. And then it was just we were there to enjoy it. We worked here. We went there for like 2 months. We enjoyed the time.
Wow.
I spent a lot of time with my friends, family, stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. Was it special getting to see your relatives over there?
Yeah, of course. Like I said before, we just had the niece as well. So everybody was coming over. Everybody was at my aunt's house. So it was just a good way to connect back with people that we love. Yeah.
Wow. And back to Fresno, I was curious if you were aware or involved of any of the Armenian institutions that kind of bring the community together here.
When I think 2016, when we actually first came here, a war broke out in Armenia again. I'm not sure if it's fully constitution or it was definitely a community event. But me and my sister, we got in the car. There was protests, so over towards River Park, we went over there. I was active in there, here and there, but yeah, that's mainly the groups I've been active in. But yet again, my friend groups, community groups, I'm part of course, too. Yeah.
Would you say that a lot of your friends and the people that you go to school with are Armenian?
Yeah. So even to this day, I have 2 best friends. They're both Armenians, so actually 3. So yeah, one of them, he came the same time my family did, so we just connected straight away. So yeah, I got super close with him. We still hang out to this day every day. As far as school goes, we have a lot of Armenians as well. We have an Armenian club in school, so we do a lot of those things. So, yeah.
Could you tell me more about the Armenian club?
Yeah, so we just basically get together maybe like once a month during lunch, and then we just play games like Kahoot, and it's more like revolving around history of Armenia. So it's a lot of trivia questions like that, Jeopardy. It's just a good way to connect back with people once a month.
Is this in high school?
Yeah.
Great.
So it's at Clovis North High School. Yeah.
Great. And I was wondering if you knew of any cultural heritage sites that are in Fresno, like monasteries or cemeteries that you visited?
Yeah. So actually, this William Sarion Cemetery. I don't know if you've heard of it. After the genocide, he killed the head kind of like organizer of the genocide. So his tomb is actually over there by his ceremony spot. So yeah, there's just kind of like a graveyard for Armenians who passed. So he's older in the center. So I think that's a pretty good place.
Yeah. And we are sitting in your restaurant right now, so I want to talk a little bit about food. I'm curious what your favorite foods were.
Well, growing up, of course, it's a lot more traditional in Ijevan, but when we grew a lot of animals ourselves. So, for example, like if we grew a pig, if we like decide we're gonna have the pig, we we like kind of like kill it, of course, in a humane way. And then our tradition is we actually eat the skin of it. So we actually like just dry it. So we actually cook it, and then we eat it like that. And then another tradition goes as well, which I love, is we actually hand out some parts of the cut of like the meat. So let's say like the belly, we might give it to this neighbor, that neighbor, and they do as well too. But yeah, my part's definitely the barbecue. I like that. Yeah.
Wow. And when did you start cooking food?
Well, my dad started telling me to watch him when I was around 8-ish.
Uh-huh.
So I always used to watch him make the barbecue. And then I officially started working here when I was 11. I started washing the skewers and everything like that. And then 13, 14, I started learning how to cook the meat and, the salads, the rice, everything like that. And then as far as like the last 2 years went, I've been helping all around. So yeah.
Are there any differences in the Armenian food you ate in Armenia and that which you and your family cook in America?
Yeah, so we try to keep it as much to our roots as possible. So even our seasonings and herbs that we use, we get it from Armenia. We import it from over there. But as far as like the taste goes, me personally, I can taste a little difference here and there. Because over there, we grew the animal. We know what we're feeding it, what we're not feeding it. Over here, it's you just go buy it. You don't know what's been fed, like the chemicals they use or anything like that. So yeah, but my dad always says the taste is a lot different from over there than here. So
Yeah. Can you talk about some of the dishes that your restaurant offers?
yeah, so we offer. So our specials are like plates, kind of. So the plates just come with a portion of salad, a portion of garlic sauce, some pita bread, and of course like the meat you choose with some rice. So you can choose, chicken, beef, lamb, salmon, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Wow. And do you have a favorite menu item that your restaurant offers?
Yeah, so I like the number 2 because it has everything. So it has that beef, it has that chicken, it has that beef lula, which is just ground beef. So I like that, and then it also has the salad, the rice, as I mentioned, with the garlic sauce. So that's what I like because it has everything.
Yeah.
So I get a little taste of both. Yeah.
You mentioned that your grandmother, I think, was
Yeah.
the one who cooked a lot for you in Armenia.
Yeah.
Do you remember any special dishes that she made?
Yeah, so everybody knows in Armenia that grandmas make the best dolma, which is just, it's pork meat, of course. It can be chicken meat, just different types of meat, and we just wrap it in different things. So like grape leaves, what else is there? Like even bell peppers. We even put the meat in bell peppers. We cook it that way. But you ask any Armenian, they'll say my grandma's dolma is the best.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And is passing down family recipes a thing that your family does or is important to you?
Not really, because we personally, I've never seen my mom with a recipe book. She just has everything down by eyesight. I don't know how, but yeah. She definitely looks up like recipes, how to cook some stuff. But after that, she doesn't like write it down or anything. She just, I don't know, has it memorized.
Wow. I wanted to talk again about your interactions with Armenians in Fresno.
Yeah.
I was wondering what makes this Armenian community special for you.
Well, I think it's special for me too because it resembles kind of like my hometown in Armenia. It's Fresno's a lot smaller, so again, everybody knows everybody. There you might know a friend that might be friends with another guy that you don't know, but then you guys meet, you guys know each other. So it's a lot more connection in Fresno, and it shows a lot more because it's just like such smaller space. So it's definitely been special. Even with the restaurant, I have a lot of, I would say, connections, relationships with people. So yeah.
Have you observed any divisions within the Fresno Armenian community?
Not that I remember. Of course, there's like minor problems, but those aren't any big deals. But no, not that I remember. As far as I remember, everybody's just been connected with each other.
And is there anything about the Fresno Armenian community that you wish was different?
Not really. I mean, I would just like there to be more Armenians. That might be one, but yeah, I think we're a very good community of Armenians that value our traditions and relationships. So yeah.
Do you feel like there were any challenges feeling welcomed growing up here?
Mm, as for me, not as much because I was more like in as far as school goes, like welcoming into schools. Of course, the school board did their job, but of course, the kids. There's a new kid, they might get picked on this that. I didn't struggle with that as much as my older sister. She got here, she was a senior, so that's when everybody's starting to try to be cool, this, that. So she faced a lot more compared to me. Yeah. There's definitely they're more welcoming, like as far as the community goes, but there's of course gonna be some individuals that try to, segregate or put you aside compared to others.
Interesting. Could you talk more about what studying in school is like in America?
Yeah, so I don't study because I don't know, I just don't feel like it, but
or just like studying in school.
In school, as far as school goes, yeah, it's a lot more organized. So even like, for example, even ditching class, your parents got an email, this, that, that. In Armenia, half the time the teachers don't even know. So I feel like over here it's a lot more organized as far as like the education goes. You're more obligated to graduate, if that makes sense. Over there, it's a lot more like, okay, I'm gonna learn until like 10th, 11th grade. I'm just going straight into the workforce. So yeah.
Are you in school right now?
Yeah, I'm actually a senior in high school, so we'll be graduating in 2
Wow.
days. So
that's so exciting. Wow. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what the Armenian club has meant for you in high school?
Yeah. I mean, it was just for me, it was a very good way to relieve myself. I used to, crack jokes a lot. Me and my friends would just always laugh in that class. Actually, the teacher kind of got annoyed, so she actually kicked us out for laughing too much. So that was always a fun experience. My friends like to blame it on me because I have a pretty loud laugh, so it gets everybody going.
Yeah. And I'm curious, as you've gotten older, if your involvement in the Armenian community here has changed or grown over time.
Yeah, of course. So even growing up, I'm definitely going out more, so I see a lot more people as far as community goes, everything like that. But even coming back to the restaurant, I work in the dining room a lot more now, so a lot of people recognize me now outside of the restaurant. So yeah, I think I'm more involved in the communities that follow.
Do you get to know a lot of Armenian families through the restaurant?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
That's great. And you guys occasionally host events?
I would like to say a lot more than occasionally, but yeah.
Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, so as far as the events go, we just get whoever's doing the events, see their menu, of course, everything like that goes. But there's no way we've been in the business for so long that even if we don't know the person that's hosting it, we know the people that are going to be part of the actual party. So it's just there's always going to be some type of like, hey, how are you doing? Type relationship.
Wow, that's great. I was wondering also if you notice any significant changes happening in the Armenian community over time.
Over time, I think it's a lot stronger now in Fresno. Even in April, like the Genocide Remembrance Day, whenever I went this year, I remember there was a lot more people that were involved, a lot more, people that actually valued showing up. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think people, I'm sure a lot of people notice as well, people starting from everything, people get connected to God a lot more these past few years. So I think God just directs them in the right way that they want to be directed to. So I think that's a big reason why. Another reason might also be the population. Of course, it's growing in Fresno, the Armenians. So, but yeah, I think those are two main reasons why we have a lot more people showing up.
Yeah. Can I ask what your long-term plans for the future are?
Yeah, so I'm going to be graduating high school, and then I'll be going to college and then working here, of course. So hopefully I can continue this business, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Wow. Do you know where you're going to college?
I think I'm gonna be going to community, and then I'll transfer either to Fresno State or I don't know some type of university.
Great. I was wondering if you have any plans or desires to return to Armenia in the future.
Yeah, of course I do. As far as living there, I personally I can't go until I'm 32 because of the military. So
Oh, wow.
if I go, I'll be stuck over there. So it's I'll probably be here for a little while, and then of course yeah, I'm gonna go back and visit. I still have family members over there, so yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can go back someday. Yeah.
What would visiting Armenia mean for you?
It would it would be like emotional, like really emotional, because I'm not gonna be seeing my aunts and my nieces for the next like 15 years. So it's gonna be a while. So I'm excited to see how they grow. How even the nieces like grow up, their values, their relationships. So I'm excited to see how that goes as well.
How have you seen your parents and your family be able to preserve your Armenian identity?
Yeah. So my parents, even when we came here, we just kept the base. We said we're not going to change anything about our beliefs. We're not going to change anything of our family moral values, right? We're going to teach our kids, that's what my parents said, we're going to teach our kids the way we were taught so our tradition can follow. So I think that's a very beautiful thing that my parents, which I'm really grateful for, that my parents taught us.
Do you have a favorite thing about your Armenian culture?
Uh, I like the music. Yeah, so I really like spiritual, patriotic music. So I'm really into that. So yeah.
Do you have any favorite artists?
Um, I listen to a lot, like for example, Nersi Kispiano, Audible, those two, they're pretty good. But yeah, there's just a good variety of people that I listen to.
Wow. What do you wish for the Armenian community of Fresno in the future?
I wish for them to have the patience and the ability to forgive, because I think if you're if you have the ability to forgive and keep moving forward even with what happened in the past, as far as arguments or anything like that, because if you forgive, you're gonna love no matter what. So I think that's a very fundamental thing that I would suggest for them to keep in mind, because even our God, Lord, and Savior Jesus Christ says, "Forgive, forgive, forgive." So I think that's a very good base and fundamental value to have. Forgive.
Wow. And on a similar vein, do you have any wishes for your home country, Armenia, in the future?
Uh, Patience, patience. I think with time, through God, things will change, and I just hope even over there we forgive. Yeah. So I think two main wishes that I wish for them is believe in God and then just be patient.
Okay. And do you feel more Armenian in your home country or in your new country?
I feel like I'm more Armenian over there, just because even if I'm here, like I might be speaking with my peers Armenian, like my friends, but here and there we might put in some English words, English, literature, stuff like that. And Armenia is just pure Armenian, so it's a lot more over there. It's a lot more like you feel like you're home, you know. I'm not sure if, let's say you go out of the state and then you come back, let's say you go from California to Texas, you're gonna feel a difference, right? So I think that's how it is with here and there as well.
Okay. Yeah. And I was wondering what you thought if the Fresno community of Armenians was lost, what would be lost to the greater Armenian community in the world?
I think um, they would lose a small. It's a pretty big piece of history, but I would say they would lose even a small part, because of course Fresno, our community is really good. We have good relationships. We we show up to events a lot more. We're overall just a connected group of community, and we bring a lot to the table. So even like remembering the monument, even Fresno State having the memorial set up there, for every year for us to show up. So yeah, I think even that's just beautiful itself. So I think we need to treasure the community itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would carrying on your family business mean to you?
It would mean a lot to me because my parents, I see the struggle they go through. I see what they're continuing to go through, even to support me and my sisters, even now that we're older. And I would just like to expand it and do the same for my kids. So yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And last question, what does being Armenian mean to you?
Everything. Yeah. I want to be anything else. I I'm really grateful for being Armenian. Yeah. Just even two examples: our values and our relationship with God. That means everything to me.